how do you really know what is in the food you're eating? Ranging from ferrous sulfate, thiamine mononitrate, to yeast extract. Many consumers are not sure what these ingredients are. Simply a few ingredients from Campbell's chicken noodle soup. One may question why ingredients are listed according to their chemical compound. One thing you may not realize is that yeast extract is yet another name for MSG, or monosodium glutamate, a food additive that has been proven to increase weight gain, according to Rogers and Blundell in 1990, and effects of monosodium glutamate on hunger and food intake in human subjects, and the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Learning to properly read food labels is key to understanding what is really in your food. Understanding the contents in your food can lead to purchasing healthier food options and weight loss. First, I'm going to talk about the misleading signs or information on food labels, such as the several different names for monosodium glutamate shown on food labels. Second, I'm going to talk about why consumers are having difficulty reading labels and why they do not know what ingredients are in the food they are eating. Lastly, I'm going to talk about a method of overcoming this problem by learning how to properly read food labels. This process will hopefully be something habitually practiced, which will lead to healthier options in the local grocery stores. The first problem with food labeling is the source. According to Cooper's 1986 article, Drug Labeling and Products Liability in the Food Drug Cosmopolitan, the Food and Drug Association's job is to promote health, which makes them liable for the labeling on food. Alfred Scott added in his article, MSG and hydrolyzed vegetable protein induced headache, posted in the Journal of Head and Face Pain, that the Food and Drug Association's current food labeling code allows multiple names for MSG on food labels. Such names as hydrolyzed vegetable protein, natural flavor, or even the word flavoring may appear on food labels to refer to MSG. Studies have been shown to connect MSG with obesity. In fact, Dawson concluded his research in the American Journal of Physiology, Endocrinology, and Metabolism in 1997, and the article Attenuation of Leptin-Mediated Effects by Monosodium Glutamate, stating that MSG affected the leptin hormone in mice. This hormone, which tells your body when you're full, stopped working and resulted in obese mice. It doesn't make sense that the FDA would allow multiple names for MSG on food labels, especially since it's a known cause for obesity in mice. Such flaws in the FDA's labeling code makes food labeling complicated for consumers to understand. The second problem with food labeling is that consumers do not fully understand what content is in their food. In the article Trends in Food Label Use Associated with New Nutrition Labeling Regulations in the American Journal of Public Health by Ronald Crystal, most adults survey that the only part of the food label they look at is the fat content, missing nutrient information and ingredients completely. 70% of adults noted that they want labels to be read easier to read and understand. The adults polled that their lack of food labeling was because it took too much time. Although time-consuming and difficult to do, reading food labels properly increases nutrient intake and decreases daily calories. Kim et al. In the Journal of Agriculture and Resource Economics article titled The Effect of Food Label Use on Nutrient Intakes stated in 2000 that proper reading of food labels daily decreases calories from total fat by 6.9%, saturated fat by 2.1%, cholesterol by 67.8 milligrams, sodium by 69.58 milligrams, and fiber increases by 7.51 grams. All of these numbers are influenced by proper food reading daily. These numbers would add up to 207 milligrams difference in sodium consumption per week and 828.24 milligrams of sodium per month, less than those who do not read food labels. That is equal to the amount of sodium in 6.5 liters of Coca-Cola. Since weight loss is correlated with caloric reduction, the only sure way to lose weight is by reducing daily caloric consumption. Learning to properly read a food label is a good start to weight loss. That's why I'm going to talk about a new method for food reading of food labels. Michael Pollan writes a few tricks and methods of what to buy or what not to buy when you go grocery shopping in his witty 2009 book, Food Rules, An Eater's Manual. I've compiled what I found to be the most efficient rules to food labeling. The first step in food label reading is to check the ingredients. One of Pollan's most famous rules is to avoid food products containing ingredients that a third grader cannot pronounce. The reason is that it is filled mostly with food additives, and most likely not good for you. Next, he mentions to avoid food products containing ingredients that no ordinary human would keep in the pantry, such as ethoxylated diglyceride cellulose xanthax gum. Pollan quotes in his book, "If you wouldn't cook them yourselves, why let someone else cook for you?" Thirdly, avoid food products that contain more than 5 ingredients. More ingredients mean that it's processed, and the other ingredients are used to add flavor. Step 4 is to avoid food products that contain high fructose corn syrup or some other form of sugar listed among the top 3 ingredients. Step 5 is to avoid food products that make health claims, because most of these claims are done by bad science. Also, avoid low-fat, light, or non-fat food items because most products have more sugar or salt added, which adds more calorically. Lastly, don't eat anything your great-grandmother wouldn't recognize as food. This helps keep away from those highly processed snacks that were not available decades ago. Of all his rules, I believe that his most important rule is to break the rules once in a while. All things in moderation, including moderation. While Michael Pollan, a renowned food politic author, would give these rules on reading food labels, he is very adamant on eating mostly plants and only eating the junk food you cook yourself. If this lifestyle does not suit you, well, for financial or time restraints, and if scary ingredients do not seem so frightening after all, then there are other quick and easy ways to reduce your caloric intake when grocery shopping. According to the American Heart Association's website on food label reading, it is recommended that you start at the serving size, which is the top of the can, and recognize how many servings are in your container of food. Recognize that if you eat a can of soup, the serving size is typically only half a can. If you eat the whole can, you must double all the facts to accurately match your intake of calories. Secondly, limit everything read on the label from total fat to sodium. Next, it is important to check from dietary fiber through the nutrients. 5% or less in daily value is considered low, and anything 20% or more is considered a higher value. Since the FDA came up with the food label rules, we must learn to abide by them. Simply learning to properly read a food label will help you lose weight. But it is up to you if you plan to maintain the weight loss and keep up the habit of reading food labels. In conclusion, understanding how to correctly read a food label will help you reduce calories, and this promotes weight loss. Even though the FDA hasn't denied the duplicate names on food labels such as hydrolyzed vegetable protein for MSG, consumers do not need to continue to be misinformed about the food they eat. With the proper method of reading food labels, consumers can learn what foods they should pick up or drop at the grocery store. George Scowie, the senior vice president of Campbell's Soup, quotes, "We have to earn the consumer's trust every day, and if you disappoint the customer, there is no guarantee they will come back." While this is ironic, because Campbell's chicken noodle soup has MSG hidden on their label as yeast extract, this is a very true statement. Without the consumers buying the foods loaded with flavoring and hidden ingredients, there would be only natural foods left. This is only ideal in a perfect world, not in a world hidden with mass produce and drive-through fast food and so much processed food.